Couple of quite interesting jobs today. Job number 1, Mark 1 MR2 that I've just collected for someone. We'll get this off the trailer and move on to the next one. So it's an early Mark 1 Toyota MR2 and the new owners here just having a little bit of a look over it.
Okay. It's like the join in the sills, isn't it?
Yeah. You want to get it off?
Yeah.
Cool. Not climbing through the window.
Yeah.
So I actually really like these Mark 1 MR2s. I remember a few years back, my friend Sam had a white one, and whilst my MGB was on the road, and we went for a mountain road blast, and it was just the best day ever with that car. Sorted. So yeah, what I was saying before, a couple of jobs on today. That Mark 1 MR2, which is lovely, by the way, really rust free, starts and drives, running on 3 out of its 4 cylinders. I've just picked up for someone. That's going to be his project. I'm very jealous. So I'm just going to put my stuff away, back into my messy storage cage. Then my next job is I need to go to Halfords and get some screen washed and maybe a couple of other bits. And then once that's done, I've got some shock absorbers to fit on a trailer for someone on an old rice horse box that's been converted into a food truck. So I'm going to get that done today. And then I've got one more job to do for someone if I get a chance, which I probably won't until tomorrow now, just due to the parts places being closed. And that's... what was I doing for his car? Oh, pulley. I think his tensioner pulley or his water pump pulley have failed. So like the belt's shaking about. So that needs doing. And then that should be me back into my own stuff. Fingers crossed. That's the problem with going away for a couple of weeks, is jobs just build up and now I need to try and catch up to them. I wanted to do the S-Max this weekend, but yesterday was a rest day. Today is Sunday, and yeah, today's going to be a busy day of sorting stuff out. But I'm probably not going to get a chance to do the S-Max until next weekend now. Also, I've lost the keys. What have I done with the bloody keys? Oh, they're in the front. I'll go next up Halfords again. Get some screen wash and a couple of bits. Onwards. Right, next up Halfords, and yes, I do wear glasses when I drive because I can only see in 1080p, and these allow me to see in 4K, which means that I don't kill people when I'm doing driving. So we'll pop into Halfords, we'll grab some screen wash, a couple of other bits, and head back to do the next job, which will be the shock absorbers on that trailer, I suspect. Right, got screen wash, get that filled up. I might have to stop off at McDonald's on the way, that might be a thing, and then I'll crack on. So the next job on my list of jobs is going to be the trailer. This is a converted horse box. It's been converted into like a food truck. It's a 1970s rice horse box. Quite a nice trailer, to be fair. It's in pretty good condition. It has, however, got a snapped rear shock absorber, front shock absorber. So we're going to be replacing all 4 shock absorbers, get them swapped out. Hopefully should be a nice, quick, easy job, and then I can jump on to my next job, which is a Corsa water pump, because the pulley's shaking around. I'm assuming the water pump bearings have failed. So that's going to be the next job, but first let's get this trailer hooked up. And as you can see, I am an expert driver and have lined it up perfectly. I think what I should do is probably reverse the car back just a little bit. And check out my new things! My new lights that project a Freelander. They're brilliant. Which way is pointing? That way. It's about an inch. Perfect. I do like these cast hitches. They feel a lot more robust than the pressed steel hitch like I have on my trailer. Nice. I'm not going to bother hooking lights up or anything. I'm literally just driving about 20 metres. And I'm on private land, so yeah, there's that. In the workshop, I can see a nice empty bay on this side, and there's people inside. Face. Don't want to induction heat my face. So at this point I've already removed one of the shock absorbers, which is why I've already got these tools out, and yeah, these bolts were an absolute nightmare to get apart. They were so corroded. And you can see now, even when I've heated it up, I've put lube on it, I've cleaned it, I still can't get it off with a Milwaukee M18 impact. That's how tight these are. Heat is your only friend when you're doing something like this. The only way you're ever going to get a bolt like this off is to just get it cherry red. So I put some more heat onto it, and it does finally give up. Old school heat is the one. Victory! So you could see just how bad the old shock absorbers were, and through no fault of the vehicle or their own, they're just old. They're the original shocks from the 70s. You know, it's to be expected. Horse boxes, they sit for a very long time in damp conditions and then are expected to be used, so it's understandable. Terrible feeling is confirmed. What is it? Ah, bad day. Rolling around in a pile of trailer juice. Oh, yeah, screw on easily now, don't you? Of course you do. Hang on, is that loosening? Too thick to realise. There we go. No, it's tight. So I'm going to get these tightened up. They screw on a hell of a lot easier now the threads have been cleaned up. So to check the layout just to make sure that's definitely correct, but it looks good to me. So I'm going to do the same on the rears, as we've got another 2 to do, and then that's this job done. Onto the water pump. Everything is in the way. So while I disappear and go and grab the wheel nuts, which I've forgotten, I'm just going to explain a couple of bits. It's one of those jobs where you just had to persevere. The fixings were really specific to those shock absorbers in this trailer, so I had to preserve the nuts and bolts. I couldn't just use a nut splitter. They were a particular thread, which we didn't have. That's 2 done. That was a nightmare. I've got 2 more to do. I'll torque up the wheels in the front, I'll get the rear shocks changed, and then we'll get this Corsa in. We'll get the water pump done, and then that's me, I think. So I'm knackered. Last one off. That's really, really hot. Maybe don't touch the really hot bit onto your arm. That was a mistake. Burning. Yes, it's on fire. So I've given them a bit of a clean on the wire wheel. It's pretty insane to see what time does to a bolt. Like, you can see the remnants of the thread, but that's about it. The way that it's worn on the trailer is pretty crazy. It would have had threads all the way along up to this point of the shank, but the usable threads are just where the nut was. And again, it's pretty crazy to see that the fact that you can still use a nut on the end of this, considering it's essentially 50 years old now. It's a 1970s trailer. Pretty impressive. So here I'm just putting some copper grease on the length of the bolt and on the threads, just to help out future me if these shocks ever have to come off again. So I've just finished up getting the last shock absorber on. This trailer now has 4 brand new shock absorbers. Happy days. One less job. That was one of the worst jobs I think I've done in a while. Those bolts were so ridiculously rusted, seized together, and just old. Like, I'm used to old nuts and bolts being a pain in the arse. I've got an old Land Rover, I know what it's like, but that was on another level. And a few of you might be wondering, why didn't you just replace the bolts? A mixture of time constraints, and at the end of the day, those bolts are actually really, really good. You know, they've lasted this long, and they're still in pretty good condition in terms of their sort of shank thickness, and the state of the thread was actually really good. As long as you get plenty of heat into it, you can get away with saving the threads on stuff like that. It's usually the nuts that suffer. The bolts tend to be slightly harder than the nuts, so you'll chew the nut up, but the bolt actually be all right. At the end of the day, it's old British steel, so yes, it's rusty, but it's still pretty damn good. Better than anything you'd get today. If that was a bolt that was made today, you'd be lucky to get 10, 15 years out of it on a trailer like that, that's stood outside for its whole life. You know, that's why most people go stainless steel these days, because the quality of mild steel fixings is awful these days compared to what it used to be. So yeah, they're sort of the reasons why I've not replaced them. And when it comes to removing stuff like that, like I say, heat is your bestest ally. Because it can't be stuck if it's a liquid. The trailer's back on all 4 wheels. I've just grabbed the Corsa. Corsa doesn't sound very healthy. So we'll bring it in and you can hear just how unhealthy the Corsa does sound. With the worst sounding water pump I've ever heard. And the loosest water pump pulley I've ever seen. The bearings have completely failed. Must not rev it high. Must be very gentle. Yeah. Quality. I can hear what sounds like coolant, I'm assuming, leaking onto the floor. Where is... There it is. And yeah, you can just about see the pulley, and you can't really. Right down where my hand is, and it is bad. So, air filter off, jack underneath the engine, engine mount off, engine mount bracket off the engine. I think 3 or 4 bolts hold the pulley on. Then there's the thermostat housing. Excuse me. Thermostat housing to come off. Coolant drain. And then, yeah. Water pump off. New one on. Send it. So now that's off, I'm going to get a pair of pliers and just push these clips out the way. Changed my mind, decided to use a screwdriver because that's the first thing I found. Pop this wiring loom out the way. And the airbox should just lift and pull out. Like that. Nice. Cool, so now that's out of the way, gives me loads of access. The next bit, which is going to be the main event, getting this water pump off. So I'm going to start with the engine mount, so we'll get the engine jacked up. I can get slightly better eyes on this water pump now. Mostly to make sure that the one I bought is the correct one, because that would be embarrassing. Never really worked on one of these before. I've kind of avoided Vauxhalls, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not saying they're bad cars. I'm also not saying they're good cars. Right. What do I need? I need an E-socket. No. No. Yeah. 3/8. Oh, I can use my new toy. Bought a new Milwaukee gun. Got a new toy. It's if you flick the direction arrows to the middle, if you then give it a double click, it changes the setting without you having to use a button, which I quite like. Where's it out with the impact? Christ, that is tight. Bloody hell. Mate, what the fuck? That was ridiculously tight. Saved that. Oops. Cool, so that's the engine mount off the chassis leg. Now I've got the engine mount on the engine itself to remove. I should get pretty good access to the rest of the bolts that I need access to. So after a bit of messing about, I've removed the lower engine mount dog bone that goes onto the subframe. Really obvious, one bolt goes through it, and then one bolt into the subframe, but I've just removed the engine side. You've then got to take the inner wheel arch plastic liner off, which is held on with 4 T20 little screws. You don't have to take the whole arch liner off, you literally just take that cover off. Also gives you really good access underneath to get the rest of the belt off. And then you have to jack the engine up really, really high, which I didn't really like doing, it didn't feel very nice. You can then just simply slide this out once you've pulled the bolts out. So this is the engine mount that goes onto the engine. So we'll get that bracket out of the way. That now gives me access to the water pump pulley, the belt, everything basically. It's quite a nice height to work on now, to be fair. So I'm going to get that pulley off first, get the belt off, and go from there. That's the water pump pulley. We'll keep that safe with its bolts. Just going to move the belt out of the way for now, so I can get eyes on this water pump and listen to that. That's so completely knackered. You can see where the pulley is sort of rubbed on the water pump housing. Not sure if it's an original pump or an aftermarket one. I can't quite decide. Right. All of these bolts look like they're going to be different lengths, which is always good fun. Yeah, we've got 1, 2, at least 3 different lengths so far. So that'll be fun. Okay, first we've got a couple of sensors, so we'll pop. Right tool. And slot it in at any angle. I can then squeeze, lock, that's now locked in place. I can do what I like with it. I can slide the hose clip up the pipe and out of the way. And I can leave that now, I can just place it out of the way and it'll stay like that. God, I love just having the right tool sometimes. It makes your life so much easier and just better in every single way. Right. Get that hose off. This hose turned out to be a bit of a pain to remove, but we got it eventually. Wow, that was a nightmare for like the smallest rubber hose you've ever seen. I think someone siliconed it when they put it on. It's had a water pump, I think, because surely that's not factory. Somebody siliconed that, which I don't appreciate. Did not appreciate that. Not at all. So the seals come off really easily, but it looks to me the thermostat, I can get good eyes on it, it's got a piece of rubber stuck in it. Maybe. Not too sure. Right, this has been worked on before, possibly by a moron. It's okay because I identify as one of those as well. So I'm just getting the rest of the water pump bolts out now. I'm going to leave them in the water pump loosely so that I don't have to make like a cardboard cutout to slot them all in. I do end up dropping one, which isn't helpful. That's okay, I only launched 2. Sure I'll manage. I'm pretty sure I saw where they went as well. So you can just see where it's obviously been rubbing, where the bearings start to fail. I'm going to clean up all this gasket face, give it a bit of a degrease, and then get the new one on, I guess. I think first I might actually transfer the bolts over now. Just because why the heck not? That's all them swapped over, which means we can flip this over and we can see what's going on. So you can see how much it's pressed up against this kind of plastic housing which directs the coolant. You can see where the pulley has started to rub on the housing, and yeah, it's just all not very good. Not what we want at all. New one comes with a new gasket. This is a metal gasket, and it comes with a new seal as well. All good stuff. Cool, so I've given everything a good clean with a degreaser. I don't know if you can see quite how clean that is, but that's pretty much how clean you need it. So I've gone over the surface with a standard blade. I've then gone over the surface with a fairly coarse Scotch-Brite, like a red Scotch-Brite, just to sort of get any of that surface off. Then I've gone over it with a surface degreaser, like brake cleaner or surface cleaner or something like that. So that has then prepped the surface. Then I've given it a wipe with a rag just to finish off, and I've blown some compressed air into all of the thread holes to make sure that they aren't blocked with any gunk. I've got all of the bolts already in the water pump, and I've got the gasket fitted. You'll notice I've not got any silicone on there. These gaskets should be fitted dry unless the surface that they're being fitted to is pitted and damaged or whatever, which on this particular engine they're not. So we're going to do it as per the manufacturer and the manufacturer's guidelines, which is of course to fit this dry. So that's what I'm going to do. I feel like with Vauxhalls of this era there must have been a sale on E-head fixings, because everything is held on with something that needs an E-socket or a 10 or a 13mm. That's pretty much all these cars are made up of. So I've got the water pump fitted. Everything's sort of attached and doing what it should. Got the pipe on the back. I've got all the bolts torqued up to what they should be. Now I've got the pulley on. I've got the new belt on. So I'm going to put the new pulley bolts in. Get that nipped up. I did cheat a little bit. I just pulled the belt to release the tension on the tensioner, and then got the pulley on that way. It's just a bit easier. Saves a little bit of time. The correct way would be to detension it off the pulley, put the pin through the tensioner to lock the tensioner off. That'll probably be a bit easier, but I went for the manhandle option because I'm a man. Cool, so it's very nearly back together. Engine mount's back on. I just need to do the dog bone mount underneath. All the electrical connections bar the MAF sensor are back on. So I've also put the thermostat back in. So what I might do next is just top it up with coolant, check for leaks before I go any further with putting things back together. So I can deal with leaks now. Obviously, leaks may appear once it's running and it's warm, but let's do that next. So all I'm doing here now is topping up the coolant with some fresh stuff, just bleeding it by hand, squeezing the air bubbles out and checking for leaks as I go. This is pretty much it now. Cool, I think that's about right. I'll leave the cap off when I run it. Do these last little bits. Airbox next. Just going to lube up the edge of this because it's a bit of a pig to pull off with some of my mouth juice. Hopefully that should make it a little bit easier to get it back on again. Probably not. So here I'm just nipping up the Jubilee clip, and I'm going to have a quick last look underneath just to make sure there aren't any leaks while the car's been sat and I've been working, and then I'm going to run it up. Seems pretty dry underneath the car, so I'm pretty content that we're not going to have any coolant leaks. So I'm going to fire it up just to be sure, just bleed out any last little bits of air. When you're bleeding the air out of the heat system, make sure that the heater is on max, as in not the fan, but the actual heater control is set to hot so that it can bleed through the heater inside the cabin as well. Cool, so that's running. Sounds alright. Can't see any leaks or anything like that. So I think we should be hopefully onto a winner. It's only really when you're recording yourself that you realise just how much of a weirdo you are. This is 12 whole seconds of me just standing there contemplating life, staring at a running engine. But seriously guys, I urge anyone to get a cheap camera, use their phone and just record what you're doing. If you do anything, if you've got a hobby, if you've got something that you do after work, get filming. There's nothing stopping you, and if you make it, they will watch it, and it's actually genuinely really good fun. I'm going to stop this video here. There'll be a sort of, I guess, follow-up part 2 of a last couple of little jobs. This video is going on for way too long. But if you're enjoying it, then I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much. Please like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.